The things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. And one of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it.
As Malcolm X often said, our history didn't begin in chains. And the true history of Black people has been distorted. So today, we're going to take a trip through time to ancient Africa and meet some dynamic Black kings and queens.
The great kings and queens of Africa.
Historically, many African societies were more advanced than European nations. Therefore, African people were in no rush to leave the continent. But today, many people of African descent denounce their connection to Africa because of ignorance and conditioning that has been embedded in the subconscious, and it's not their fault. The education system of this country focuses on European history and culture and depicts African history as sad, destitute, and poor. It's easy to see why so many descendants of Africa view their roots as negative or disconnect from them altogether.
We didn't want anybody to tell us anything about Africa, much less call us an African. And in hating Africa and hating the African, we ended up even hating ourselves without even realizing it. Because you can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree. You can't hate your origin and not end up hating yourself. You can't hate Africa and not hate yourself. And you show me one of these people over here who have been thoroughly brainwashed, who has a negative attitude toward Africa, and I'll show you one that has a negative attitude toward himself.
But now that Africa is getting independent and in a position to create its own image, and it's a positive image, those of us in the West look at the African image and see how positive it is, and we begin to identify with it. We become proud of Africa, and we become proud of our African blood, our African heritage. And this is what is beginning to make the Africans in the Western Hemisphere today develop more race pride, and as this race pride develops, then it has a tendency to make us want to unite together and work together.
It is psychologically destructive to introduce the history of Black people to Black people as an enslaved people. Not only is it inaccurate, it's irresponsible and damaging. As youth, Black children are subconsciously given the impression that Black people are inferior. But our history didn't begin in chains, and it shouldn't be taught as if it did. This approach not only ignores 99% of known Black history, but it also negatively affects students' identity. First impressions are important. Students deserve to see the full, accurate picture of their history, because millions of Africans lived and died way before the idea of the transatlantic slave trade. Our history expands far beyond slavery. So let's meet some of our ancestors.
Serve a part of the rich and proud African culture, and to cultivate a deeper understanding of the many contributions that history has made to the world. Alfonso I was the first ruler to modernize Black Africa on a grand scale. He encouraged his people to learn Christianity and new skills in masonry, carpentry, and agriculture. Alfonso streamlined politics, established modern schools, and later became the first ruler to resist the slave trade. Promoting industry and agriculture, Hatshepsut may be the greatest female Egyptian ruler of all time. As the first woman in recorded history to preside over a nation, Hatshepsut cast aside the theory of male supremacy. Her spirited defiance of male dominance for 30 years endured to the very end, as evidenced by the discovery of her tomb in the Valley of the Kings. When Sani Ali Burr came to power, Songhai was a small kingdom in the western Sudan. With a ferocious force, the warrior king won battle after battle, routing marauding nomads, seizing trade routes, and ever expanding his domain. He captured Timbuktu, bringing into the Songhai Empire a major center of commerce, culture, and Muslim scholarship. His greatness is still legendary among the Songhai people today. Askia the Great was a fair and deeply religious man who at times fought established tradition to rule in the best interest of his people. A devout Muslim, he ruled Songhai strictly according to Islamic law. Askia Muhammad Touré, united the entire central region of Western Sudan with a government that is still revered today. A wise and beautiful woman from Nubia so captured the heart of the pharaoh she changed the course of history. Ty's beauty, intellect, and will so took Pharaoh Amenhotep III. He defied his nation's priest and custom by proclaiming this commoner his great royal spouse. Amenhotep declared that, as he had treated her in life, so should she be depicted in death as his equal. And so the colossal sculpture ordered for their temple thus portrays them as a pair of majestic monarchs, both proud, both noble, both serene. A flamboyant leader and world figure, Mansa managed vast resources to benefit his entire kingdom. In 1324, he led a holy pilgrimage of 72,000 people from Timbuktu to Mecca, over 6,000 miles. So spectacular was this event that Mansa Musa won international prestige for Mali as one of the world's largest and wealthiest empires. A strong leader and military innovator, Shaka is noted for revolutionizing Bantu warfare through standardized weapons and special tactics. Many enemies would flee at the mere sight of Shaka's troops. With cunning and confidence as his tools, Shaka united all tribes in South Africa against colonial rule. For hundreds of years, Nubia and Egypt had been at war. But Nefertari's marriage to King Ramesses II, Pharaoh of Egypt, brought the fighting to an end. The marriage began as strictly a political move, but it later grew into one of the greatest royal love affairs in history. In fact, the temple which Ramesses built for her at Abu Simbel is one of the largest and most beautiful structures ever built to honor a wife and to celebrate peace. One of the greatest monarchs of the Congo, King Shamba, had no greater desire than to preserve the peace. He designed an extremely democratic government featuring a system of checks and balances that represented all Bushango people. Also, Shamba promoted the arts and crafts to their highest level during his reign. Regarded as one of the greatest generals of all time, Hannibal and his powerful African armies came close to defeating the mighty Roman Empire. His audacious moves and tactics have been studied and successfully imitated as recently as in World War II. The genius of Hannibal brought Carthage great prosperity and prestige. The identity of the Queen of Sheba has long been debated, but indications are that she was the Ethiopian queen, Makeda. According to legend, she was fascinated with the wisdom of the great King Solomon of Israel. Upon meeting, the king and queen were equally intrigued with one another. Fondness grew into love, and their union produced history's longest line of royalty descendants. Returning to Ethiopia, Makeda's influence transcends centuries as the Judeo-Christian tradition remains embedded in modern Ethiopia.
With the new knowledge you have attained, I want you to use your creativity and compose an original haiku. And haiku is a short poem of only 3 lines. Each line has a set number of syllables. The first line is 5, the second line is 7, and the third line is 5. I'll give you an example. Africa is home. The roots keep us connected. I will wear my crown. This is in haiku. There doesn't have to be a rhyme, just follow the 3-line format. The first line has 5 syllables. Africa is home. The second line has 7 syllables. The roots keep us connected. The third line has 5 syllables. I will wear my crown. Write your poem in a post on Facebook or Instagram and use the hashtag Juneteenth 2020 and JOB45, which stands for Juneteenth of Buffalo 45 years. We're going to pick some of our favorite poems to win a prize, and next week we're going to continue on this journey. So make sure you tune in. Same place, same time. Peace.